Many years after the war, we moved out here, because I suppose you always go back to what you grow up in. And this little place out here, not far from London, reminds me, with its hills and its trees, very much of Austria. We also had a place in the country where electricity hadn't really reached yet, and most of the power came from agricultural steam engines, just as it did in the last century. And here they all are, once again hard at work. This is the world that has passed away. Alan Johnson's gypsy caravan has vanished from the roads and market towns. The thunder of Graham Hunt's Fowler agricultural engine no longer echoes across the fields. And at the end of the war, a flood of ex-army diesel engines drove out the originals of Edward Allen's Fairground steam engine. These beautiful models are one way to recall those pleasures of long ago. But for the moment, let's concentrate on the working day, steam ploughing especially. This is quite sophisticated and just as exciting as the modern machine. By finally adjusting the pull on the throttle, the plough makes a clean furrow at a very precise depth. But if you want to have a look at the mechanical nightmare, here's one to have a go at. Colin Tyler's Derby Digger. I don't think they've made very many of them. I first came across one of them in a 1890 edition of Punch, where it displayed it with a cartoon saying it's ideal for featherbed farmers. The claws spread 14 feet 6 inches from end to end, and the machine weighed over 8 tons. It seems somewhat of a sledgehammer to crack a nut, and I certainly wouldn't have liked to have driven it. Now this is much more sensible. Hewbridge Engine Centre's thrashing train. I just feed in this year's best crop of wheat, like this. The chaff goes out on the shakers, and the grain goes down to the bottom. And in real life, it would have been taken to the local miller and ground into flour for homemade bread. Absolutely delicious. What a thought. Right to between the wars, whole farming areas had to depend on steam to make their power and electricity, and they coped with it very well indeed. And when we bought this house, we were in exactly the same position. We had no mains electricity. So now it gives me great pleasure to make my own. And this is where the knowledge gained from making models really pays off. Some friends and I put this lovely old steam engine in a shed in our garden. I burn wood from our own trees, and we can even use oil from the stump of the motor car. And here it is, working extremely well. Oh, we're going up to about 90 pounds per square inch, about 12 bars, running extremely neatly, 3.5 kilowatt output. And if any lights anywhere else fail, we'll still be on power. Mind you, when my wife wants to use a washing machine, boy, do I have to keep on stoking. But quite apart from that, it's really great fun to have my own power station here in my own garden. And I'm almost independent of the use of petrol. Mind you, not that I'm fanatical about it, because car driving was once a big thing in my life. It really adds something to motoring, driving a car like this in surroundings like these. Now, this is an MGTC built in 1948, and I had a car just like this, and I wish I still had it. Unfortunately, I wrote mine off at Silverstone some time ago. But nowadays, here behind Lilford Hall, there are cars 2 feet long that put me to shame. These radio-controlled model racing cars hit speeds of more than 60 miles per hour here at Lilford Park Circuit, which, if you scaled it up, would be well in excess of 400 miles per hour. This is a practice session for the European Championships. Nearly 100 drivers are taking part from 11 countries. Members of the fancied British team include Dave Martin, Keith Plested, who also builds some of the cars, and Phil Greeno, the current world champion. You know, this doesn't feel like a model car racing set at all, especially here in the pits, where all the excitement of maintaining and tuning the car is exactly like the real thing.
Yes, this is the only radio-controlled sport where it's competition against the next man and not on a point system. One can see one's position and you know who you're racing. It's fantastic.
You have to be competitive, you have to get a good lap time, and you have to qualify for a final. So you've got to go very well, win your heats, go through to the final. The fuel is kept cool, and in very hot conditions, you can put it in the freezer. Now, this is because the fuel tanks are in fact limited in the size we can use. But if you put the fuel in the freezer and keep it really cool, you can get it to contract, which means that you can get more fuel in the tank. Now, in the long race, this is helpful because you therefore have to make less stops for fuel. It's great when you win. You never think you're going to win, but it's great when you do win.
Driving skill and technique wins races just as in real life. Watch the first 3 cars head into the next bend, too tight. And now see how the 4th driver swings wide for a perfect turn. The accidents look horrific, but of course they're never fatal. Dave Martin survived the pile-ups to become European sports car champion, and the British team gained most of the top places. It's good to see them doing so well. But it doesn't change my feeling that the transport system of the future, with oil being in short supply, will be the railways. I've always felt that they have a chance. In the days when Dr. Beeching chopped off branch lines with a blunt axe, I tried to resurrect one of them, the Waverley line, the line that runs between Carlisle and Edinburgh. Unfortunately, nothing came of it. But one thing I learned during the planning and the preparation of feasibility studies is that being master of one's own railway system is a very exciting thing. And no doubt the same thought is behind what I consider the world's finest model railway, Pendon in Long Wittenham in Oxfordshire. None of their locomotives is more than 2 inches high.
Millersdale for Tideswell, Kirby Muxlow, Malcop and Scholar Green. No more will I go to Blandford Forum and Morty Ho. On the slow train from Midsummer Norton and Mumby Road. No churns, no porter, no cat on a seat at Chorlton come Harney or Chester Street. We won't be meeting again on the slow train. I'll travel no more from Littleton Badsey to Openshaw. At Long Santon I'll stand well clear of the doors no more. No whitewashed pebbles, no up and no down, from Formby Four Crosses to Dunstable Town. I won't be going again on the slow train. On the main line and the good siding, the grass grows high. At Dogdyke, Tumby Woodside, and Trouble House Halt. The sleepers sleep, at Audlam and Ambergate. No passenger waits on Chittenden platform or Cheslin Hay. No one departs, no one arrives, from Selby to Boole, from St. Earth to St. Ives. They've all passed out of our lives on the slow train, on the slow train. Cockermouth for Buttermere, on the slow train. Armley Moor, Arran, Pie Hill and Summercoats, on the slow train. Windmill End,
This is the signal that marked the departure of the last train by coming on, as it's known professionally. But it bounced. Now, model signals normally go snip, snap. They don't bounce because they have no weight. But this one had. And Stuart Hine is the man who introduced artificial gravity. Stuart, how did you do it?
Well, obviously, I couldn't find room for the weight of a full-size signal. But then I thought about the way a seesaw bounces on its stop when it's just off balance. So I put in a seesaw on very light bearings and balanced it so that it was just tipping, and that's how it works.
Now, Stuart is the man who introduced many brilliant ideas into the model railway world. One of his latest is the introduction of photo etching to make small parts very precisely. They look right, they function right. Stuart, how do you go about making those?
Well, basically, photo etching has been around for a long time. The image of the parts you want, in this case the bogie, is laid down photographically on both sides of a sheet of brass, and then the whole lot goes in an etching bath. Don't forget your eye shield, Bob.
And what happens now?
Well, the chemicals in the bath eat away the metal in the areas that aren't covered by the photographic material. Of course, it isn't the kind of thing that people should do at home, but there are plenty of firms in the business who'll do it for you.
How long does the process actually take, Stuart?
Well, if you do it in a bath like this, it probably takes half an hour. The machines use the etchant hot and they spray it on, and it takes perhaps a minute.